What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Double G Gaming and back to another podcast. Even though it's video form, I don't really have it available on iTunes or Podbean or something like that. So, is this a podcast or is this a video cast? Vodcast? Whatever. Anyway, this is like episode number 4. I haven't done one of these in like 2 weeks, but I was with you guys last week talking about the Royal Rumble predictions, and I will do like a little Royal Rumble recap in this video, but I'm not gonna do like match by match, just like giving you my opinions on every single one of them. I'll just give you my thoughts on basically the whole show and some of the things that went on during it. And let's start with how cold it has been in. I don't know how far it has stretched, but I live in the middle in the Midwest. I was at the Middle East, but I live in the Midwest, and it has been freaking chilly as hell in this goddamn area. They closed down schools, shut down work for like 2 days because of how cold it was. I mean, it was just my room. I had to bring in like a little heater in here to make it fucking warm because I couldn't. I would have froze to death if I didn't have that. But luckily, I have those Mexican blankets. Shouts out if you know what I'm talking about. The ones with like leopards and lions and stuff on them. But anyway, that's besides the point. Cold as hell. And when the summer comes, I don't want to hear anybody complaining about how hot it is, even though I'm probably going to be one of them. So speaking of the summer, we're going into the off season in many sports, and obviously if you're here just for wrestling, skip ahead like 10 minutes or so. I'm going to be talking a little bit about sports. Not really much to talk about since the only thing going on right now is basically the end of the NFL season, and like we're still in the middle of the NBA season, so it doesn't really nobody really cares about it right now until after the All Star game. By the way, when is the All Star game? I'll figure it out. Put a picture for you guys up here, even if you guys don't know either. So did anybody even watch the Pro Bowl? The Pro Bowl. I mean, I don't even know what time that was gonna come on. I knew it was last Sunday. This should be coming out like Saturday or Sunday, February 2nd or 3rd. Um. But what was I saying? Yeah. Does anybody even watch the Pro Bowl anymore besides just having it on like in the background? Does anybody make a big deal out of it to watch it? And they also have like these new kind of like the challenges that they have during All Star Weekend for the NBA. They kind of had the same thing for the NFL, which is kind of cool to see some of these kind of like challenges that they have. But I still don't think anybody's tuning in to see any of this. I watched all this on YouTube or some of it. I saw like the little like passing stuff, the kicking stuff, but that was about it. And I didn't watch the Pro Bowl. I don't even know who won. Did they even have a Pro Bowl game? That's how much I have no idea. I have no idea about the Pro Bowl this year. Previous years, I used to watch it when I was younger because like you just think they make it such a big deal, so you're like hyped about it as a kid, and you're just like, holy shit, the best of the best versus the best. But they don't really take it seriously. But at a young age, you don't really think about that. You just say, oh, it's the best players from the NFC versus the AFC, whatever. So anyway, we go from the least watched game probably to the most watched game in history of television, probably the Super Bowl, and it's going to be the Patriots versus the St. Louis Rams. Oh wait, I'm getting word they left St. Louis. Ho, ho, ho. And my stomach is growling like a bit. I'm about to go eat right now, but I also had to clean up the damn snow that fell last night. So some more cold weather facts facts about the Midwest. Kind of sucks, but it's not a bad thing to have multiple seasons where you live. You get to experience a little bit of everything. I would hate to live in Los Angeles or actually I wouldn't mind living in Alaska, but why would you want to live in Alaska? I hear they pay you though, so maybe that's why I would want to live in Alaska. Anyway, uh, the Los Angeles Rams versus the New England Patriots gonna square off in the Super Bowl. Does Tom Brady get his sixth ring? Is he going for his sixth this time? Or is the Los Angeles Rams going to? This is basically going to come down to whether the New England Patriots paid enough to the refs and to the league, or if they didn't. And you already know what the outcome is going to be if they didn't. The Los Angeles Rams are going to win this game. So let me look up the Tom Brady Super Bowl record. He has appeared. I'm going on SportsIllustrated.com right now, and let's take a look. He is 5-3 in Super Bowl history, in his Super Bowl history. So he's won five, lost three. This could be his sixth ring. He needs a ring on the other hand. That's all I'm gonna say about that. That's all I'm gonna say about what who I think should win or who I would prefer to win. I don't get all these New England Patriots haters. Oh, I guess because of the cheating and stuff, but um, whatever. I don't really care who wins. I have no dog in this fight. So yeah, Patriots Rams should be a good one. It should come down to the end, especially because of the Patriots and cheating and all that stuff. But still, it should be an interesting game. It was pretty chill last year, and the year before that. Wait, were they in it the last 2 years? Yeah, and there were two decent games. So it should be another classic one between the Patriots and the Rams. Now going on to the NBA, as we prepare for the end of the season for the NFL, we go into the trades that happened, or one of the trades, or just one trade, one big trade that happened in the NBA, and I'm talking about Kristaps Porzingis being traded to the Dallas Mavericks. I have no idea who they traded for, but and it is reported. I don't know if it actually went through or not, but I should be doing my research before I get on here, right? But I'm looking at the roster for the Dallas Mavericks right now, if it loads. But could this possibly, because in the standings they are like ninth or 10th, I believe. They're 12th. The Mavericks are 12th right now. So yeah, can this possibly lead them to a top three, making them a top three team in the West? I mean, the Houston Rockets aren't even top three with the record that they have right now, and that's pretty weird actually. But with James Harden showing out, and speaking of showing out, we have Anthony Davis. Is he injured right now? I know like, I'm asking all you guys this stuff, and I should probably know this if I'm talking about it. But still, I mean, it's just we're just here shooting the shit, if you get what I'm saying. So Anthony Davis, there are talks about him being traded. He wants to be traded, and I would see why he would want to, but at the same time, if you're such a good player as people say that you are, MVP caliber as people say you are, your team should be performing as good as you lead them, or as you are leading them, if that makes any sense. For example, LeBron James going to the Lakers, it took them from a bottom five team to a top 15 team, or a top 15, because that was still uh mean that they could be bottom five anyway, or to a top 10. Let's just say, you know what I mean? Like they are at least in the top 10 for the West now, with just LeBron James being added to. Yeah, they're ninth in the division right now, or in the conference, and they were probably like fifth or bottom five, bottom three last year. And just by adding LeBron James, it just made that team that much better. Anthony Davis, with the stuff that they're saying, how good he is, he's one of the best players in the world. There's no reason why his team, the New Orleans Pelicans, are doing so bad in the last ever since he's been drafted. I mean, I gave you the three first years as a like what do you call it, a period to see how your team is gelling around you. So the first 3 years is just like a building process, trying to get everything to gel into a cohesive unit. But then after that, in like 20, what would it be, 2015, 2016? After that, he would either be improving that team and giving them shots at the NBA championship every year, or he's not that good and his team keeps sucking, and that's what is actually happening. He's made it to the playoffs like once or twice, and he's been like the eighth seed twice with the Pelicans, and they've gotten ousted in the first round. So I don't know where all this talks come with him being the best. Now, is he a good player? Yes. Is he one of the best in his positions? Yes. But is he the most valuable player in the team or in the league? I doubt it, because in my opinion, MVP is like, if they lose you on that team, they're going from a winning record to a shitty record. And with or without Anthony Davis, the Pelicans suck. And also, if you're going to be the MVP of the league, uh, I had it in my head, but I just forgot what I was going to say. But you guys kind of get what I'm saying. The the uh, the stuff that they're saying about Anthony Davis, how good he is and stuff like that, I don't think it's warranted because of how bad his team has been. Oh, this is what I was gonna say. Just basically, if you're gonna be the MVP of the NBA for any given season, your team should be performing. It should be one of the best teams in the league. And if you get injured, you can still win the MVP. But it just means that your team would do a little bit worse. So basically, for example, the Warriors, the MVP would be Kevin Durant. Let's just say, all right. If they lose Kevin Durant, the Warriors would go from like the first seed to the fifth seed. So that means that Kevin Durant would be a valuable player to his team and to the league because with him, they are the first in the conference and they're first in their division or whatever, and they're doing that much better with him on the team. With Anthony Davis, with or without him, they still suck. So you guys kind of get what I'm saying. So that's all I had to say about sports. Let's move into some wrestling talk. That's what you guys are here for, I bet. So the Royal Rumble was this past Sunday, and it was a one of the best shows I think in the last 2 years. It was pretty long, and this is one of the first times that I've actually had a complaint on how long it went because I think it's because how the Rumbles were structured. I still don't think two Rumbles can belong on the same show because you get all the excitement and shit out in one of the Rumbles, and then for the second Rumble, you have to put gaps in between them with matches. And then when you get to the second Rumble, you're like, oh crap, this still is. I forgot that this was still going on. You get what I'm saying? So this is the first time that I've actually complained about how long a show is, but I think it was just because of the how the match card was set up. I don't think last year they only had four other matches on the card besides the Rumbles on the actual main show, and this year they had one, two, three. They had like five, and it was just set up a little bit wonky. So let's go through some of my thoughts on the of the night. I'm not gonna go through every single little detail, but we had Becky Lynch starting off the night. Now, what happened later was decent with her winning and stuff like that, but why did she tap out? I'm guessing they aren't booking her as a fucking megastar anymore. They're just booking her as just a top star on SmackDown as on in the women's division. They don't really care if she is booked strong, if you will. So basically, what I'm trying to say is they're not treating her as a Stone Cold Steve Austin. Instead, they're treating her as a Edge or as an Edge or a Rey Mysterio, for instance, or a Kurt Angle, or except like they're not treating her as a top tier talent because top tier talent don't tap out. John Cena, Undertaker, Stone Cold Steve Austin, maybe even The Rock, when he was as popular as he was, didn't tap out. Guys like Kurt Angle, Rey Mysterio, Edge, they can they can afford to tap out because they're not top big stars. They're not gonna lose a lot if they tap out. But if you have Stone Cold, John Cena, and stuff like that, tap out. That's gonna make that's gonna be a big deal. So I'm guessing they don't really care to make her a big star, which is really surprising because you know if the Saudi Arabia show taught us anything, is that they need to start building more stars within the company and stop bringing in older talent because those older talent can't go with the newer ones and they can't go against each other. Just look at Undertaker and Triple H and that whole fiasco with them. I mean, it was just terrible, all those matches. So, Becky Lynch loses by tapping out. So, like I said, they're just treating her as a top talent, not a mega star, a superstar talent. Just another person on the roster, but one of the top persons on that roster. They don't really care to see if she. They don't really care if she taps out or not, but they're still going to treat her strong. As the women's rumble would show, later on in the night, she would come out and take Lana's place. Oh, she's basically playing the underdog in the storyline. She got injured. I don't know if she got injured in the match with Asuka or just later on when Nia Jax pushed her off the steps. But anyway, she comes out, takes Lana's spot in the women's rumble because Lana was injured from earlier in the pre-show, which is some good storytelling there. She came out at number 28, but we wait until all 30 women have entered the ring, and then Becky Lynch comes out, and then all of a sudden She's asking Finley of all people, which I'm guess Finley because he is a fan. Let's think about he's part of the WWE universe, right? And remember a couple of weeks ago when Triple H said the WWE universe is the authority? That's why Finley, because he is part of the WWE universe, he had the authority to put Becky Lynch in the match. So that's all it was. So Finley gets a pass. I don't know why people were saying why did he have the power? We all have the authority as long as we're in the WWE universe. Remember that. So anyway, Becky Lynch enters the ring, and they still have a pretty long, like I think it still went about 10 minutes or more. The Rumble match did at least, and it came down to like Bayley, Nia Jax, Charlotte, and Becky. Becky goes to the outside. I don't know why she went to the outside to begin with, but she was on the outside. Then Nia Jax went over the top rope. Becky takes the legs from under her and eliminates her. Becky Lynch is standing on the steel steps trying to enter back into the ring. Nia Jax pushes her off, and then it appears that Becky Lynch injures her knee or her thigh or whatever. But then she makes it back into the ring and eliminates Charlotte for the win. Big pop from the crowd. You can say whatever you want. They haven't been booking her as she should be, as the badass character that she kind of portrays to be in her promos and in her mannerisms. But still, she is the second ever Women's Royal Rumble winner, so that's a big deal. You know what I'm saying? Like she's still a top star, uh, no different than a Seth Rollins or a Dean Ambrose. You know what I'm saying? She's one of the top stars in her division, in the women's division. So stop with all this. Oh, they're not booking her as strong as she was back in August or after SummerSlam. Um, what do you want her to do? Beat up? Oh, I guess she could be doing that, but whatever. At least she's still in the top. You can say one thing about them not booking her right, but she's still at the top. And there's a difference between that and not being booked at all anymore. That's something that would happen to a lot of talent nowadays, but they're still booking her as a top talent. So stop complaining all the time. Yeah, damn it. Then that went into the AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan match, which is that match as bad as the crowd was for that match? I don't think so because I went back and watched it without the sound, and they had some decent moves. Now, did this? Why did this match go 30 minutes? I have no idea. They should have traded this match with the Miz and Shane match from earlier in the night, and maybe it wouldn't have been as poorly received by the crowd, especially since they were there for like 5 hours already. Not including they just witnessed Becky Lynch winning the Royal Rumble, something the crowd has been wanting for months now. And then they put on AJ versus Bryan in a 30-minute match. It ends with Eric Rowan of all people that he got. I feel bad for Eric Rowan, man, because like nobody popped for him coming out, and that's something that like on a 4 hour, 3 hour show, 2 hour SmackDown, people would be like, "Oh shit, Eric Rowan, he's back." But not even the commentators cared about Roman appearing here. So comes out, the referee gets knocked down, and he puts an end to the match, which kind of killed the match even more for some people because it didn't end with a clear cut winner. They had to bring in outside help to get Daniel Bryan to get the victory. But yeah, is this what's to come for the WWE Championship whenever the Universal title is also on the show and it's longer than a 4 hour pay per view? Because as we saw last year with AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura at WrestleMania, that match was also poorly received because of the spot on the card and how long it went and how abrupt the ending was. And also with the Samoa Joe and AJ Styles match at SummerSlam, they had to do better with pacing out the card or doing less matches with more time or something, because if they keep putting the WWE Championship as the second class belt, like I've said before, the matches are gonna keep getting received poorly by fans, especially by the crowd that's there. And then if fans watching at home, they're like, why isn't the crowd reacting to any of the moves that are happening? Then the people at home are gonna have a sour taste on the match as well. So they really need to figure out this stuff with placing the WWE Championship. But you also don't want them to come on first. You know what I'm saying? But maybe when Brock Lesnar loses the championship, then that gives more opportunity for the WWE Championship to be featured at as the main event. And sometimes, and then the match quality could be perceived as better than it was than previous years or previous shows, like tonight at the Rumble or this night at the Rumble. Jesus, I'm running out of breath. Whew. Next up, we had Finn Balor versus Brock Lesnar. All I'm gonna say about this is it was a good match. It was better than a Braun Strowman versus Brock Lesnar match could have been. And Brock Lesnar sold well for Finn Balor. You kind of had a feeling that he wasn't gonna win, especially when he didn't come out as the Demon. But if he was gonna lose here, I'm kind of glad that he didn't come out as a Demon, because then that would have kind of killed the Demon character, whatever. And yeah, Brock Lesnar retains, setting up the match with the Royal Rumble winner Seth Rollins, which is another crowd favorite winner. And this is the last 2 years that they've given the crowd what they wanted. Now, can they follow up and give us what we want at WrestleMania? That's a whole different story, as we saw from last year as well. Asuka and Nakamura didn't win their matches at WrestleMania, but we loved their Royal Rumble victories. So who knows? Time will tell, but for now, the Rumble winners, Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins, two great choices, and it's setting up two great matches at WrestleMania. So, yeah, enjoyed that. We also had Nia Jax getting destroyed by all the men. As soon as she came out, I was like, and she eliminated Mustafa Ali, and then Randy Orton went for the RKO, and he didn't hit it. I was like, okay, what's going on here? They can have women hit the men, but the men again aren't able to hit the women. But then Dolph Ziggler kicks her, and by the way, Dolph Ziggler, you know, I still, I'm still a fan of your work, but you get no reaction anymore. Like, I don't know if it's booking or if it's your character or whatnot, but I don't know if he should. What I'll leave it at that. I don't really want to get into that because Dolph Ziggler is a good asset to the company, but at the same time they've done so much to damage him, kind of like a Braun Strowman, that you don't really want to see him on TV anymore, at least for a while. But anyway, Dolph Ziggler gives Nia Jax a super kick. Then Rey Mysterio hits her with the 619, and then Randy Orton RKO's her. They eliminate her, and that was a good moment in the Royal Rumble. Final four: Andrade Cien Almas, Braun Strowman, Seth Rollins, and Dolph Ziggler. And like I said at the end, a big spot for Andrade, by the way. He was in down to the final four. Anyway, Seth Rollins gets the win. I have no problems with it. It was a great show altogether. But it didn't, like I said earlier, it did go a little bit too long. But yeah, I enjoyed the show thoroughly. If I would have like had a time to stop and do something else and then come back to it. Do you guys ever think that they'll do a 2 day event for any Big Four pay per view? Kind of like Wrestle Kingdom is doing next year for Wrestle Kingdom. And then they had NXT Takeover the night before. And let me say this. You know how I was saying that I usually don't complain about how long a show is? This goes to all the fans that choose to go to NXT Takeover, the WWE pay per view, the Raw, and the SmackDown in the same 4 days. This goes to you. Do not complain about how long a show is if you are attending every one of those shows. You signed up for it. You bought the tickets for every show. Don't complain about how long a night went when you are the one who put yourself in that situation. And same goes to people that complain about how long a pay-per-view is by itself. Why are you watching the pre-show if you don't want to see it? If you don't want to see a long ass show, don't watch the pre-show. Now I watch the pre-show because I enjoy watching wrestling. I enjoy, or actually not. I don't enjoy watching wrestling. I enjoy watching WWE. So I watch the pre-show. But I start an hour behind, so I can skip through all the talking, get to the wrestling, and then once the wrestling is done, I skip that, get to the next match, so on and so forth. But the way that these people make it sound is like, oh, WWE is making me watch this stuff for 7 hours. You don't have to watch anything. You don't have to watch until the pay per view starts. You don't have to watch until the next day when you can skip ahead when the pay-per-view is on demand on the network. So stop complaining about how long shows are. WWE isn't forcing you to watch anything. And they recap the pre-show on the main show, so that's another thing. You don't have to watch the pre-show because they give you the results on the main show. Um, and then if you don't want to watch every match on the main show, you don't have to because they have what they call a fast forward button, which I usually take advantage of because, like I said, I start an hour late, which gives me a little bit of leeway into the actual show, which gives me about like once I get into the actual show, I'm about 30 minutes behind. So that's about two matches that I can skip right there. So if I don't want to watch a certain match, I just skip it completely. And then by the end of the night, I'm already caught up. I'm already watching live, and that's the main pay per view card that you want to main pay per view match card that you want to watch. So I don't really care to skip after that. But anyway, what I'm getting at is stop complaining about how long these pay per views are, or how long, or wait, let me just say this, and then I'll say the other thing about how long a pay per view is when you don't have to watch every single minute. They're not forcing you to do anything. So stop complaining about how long a show is. And also, for the people that go there and complain about how long their night was, but they're buying tickets to NXT, the pay per view, Raw, and SmackDown, shut the hell up. Okay, you paid for the ticket. You already knew what was coming to you towards you. Um, and it's no secret anymore. Like most people should know that pay per views last a long ass time. Takeovers, Raw and SmackDown take a lot of time out of your day as well. So, yeah. Main point is the Royal Rumble. Royal Rumble was great. One of the best pay-per-views in recent memory. Stop complaining, fans, about how long the show is. Even though I kind of agreed, but I think it was just because of how the match card was set up this time. Okay, moving on. We start off with some big news. Did you guys hear about this? Dean Ambrose is not going to re-sign after his contract is up in April. Oh my God, you guys, we don't want to see Dean Ambrose go, right? I mean, he's my favorite now. I mean, now that he's leaving, I don't really want to see him leave anymore. Oh my God, he's leaving. Jesus Christ, I don't want him to go. Oh. But anyway, let's get serious here. Dean Ambrose, his heel character has been shit. People have been kind of passing on him. Now, I enjoyed his run from. I started watching back. I took a stop when the Shield from 2012 to 2015 ish. So I was not there for the Shield to see what they were doing. So I came back in 2015 around Survivor Series or Hell in a Cell when Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, or when Seth Rollins got injured and had to relinquish the title. So from that Survivor Series 2015 all the way up until the brand split of 2016, I enjoyed what Dean Ambrose was doing. It wasn't until they started doing repetitive matches after repetitive matches. Now his character was still decent as it was, but I really enjoyed his run from 2015. You thought he was going to get the title from Triple H or at the Rumble, leading into WrestleMania as the champion. And then even going into WrestleMania, you kind of had hopes for that Brock Lesnar match, and then that Brock Lesnar match didn't pan out as fans wanted, especially myself. That match really disappointed. That no holds barred match with Brock Lesnar. Then Dean Ambrose goes on to win the Money in the Bank. Fans are happy as hell. He cashes in. Fans are even happier. He wins Battleground against the Triple Threat in that Triple Threat Shield thing. You're like, oh shit, he's gonna be one of the biggest stars in the company. Um, but then they kind of turn him into what Becky Lynch is kind of turning into. He went from, the fans are fucking hyped for this man. Oh, he's just gonna be a top star, not a mega star. He goes into SummerSlam, has a dud of a match with Dolph Ziggler. It wasn't. It's probably because of the placement of the match as well. Kind of like I said with Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles, Nakamura, Rusev, Joe, whatever. The WWE Championship was placed in a bad spot on the SummerSlam card, so I didn't really care for it. That kind of brought it down, but his match with AJ Styles brought me back up a little bit with his character. But then they kept having rematches after rematches after rematches with AJ Styles for the WWE Championship, and then he went into the lower card belt with Baron Corbin for the IC belt into WrestleMania. Then he got traded to Raw, and then he feuded once again with The Miz for the IC belt, and then he just kind of squandered. I'm trying to rethink of all his spots from this point on. But then yeah, nothing really good ever since he lost the championship to AJ Styles in 2016. Nothing good of a storyline has come from him, especially he got injured and whatever. And then he came back, and his heel run was really disappointing. So I mean, if kind of like a Dolph Ziggler, if he went away for a little bit and came back in a couple of years, in a couple months, I'd be down for that. I don't know why people are throwing their arms up in anger or throwing their arms up in disappointment in WWE for not trying to keep Dean Ambrose. But I think if he were to leave, if it's not a work, and most people are saying it is a work, um, but let's just pretend that this is real. Who really cares if Dean Ambrose leaves? This is not like a CM Punk leaving out of nowhere after he's doing some of his best work, or a Daniel Bryan having to retire after just being as hot as he was. This is after a character has been, kind of on the decline in terms of his storylines. So if he were to leave and come back in a couple years, or even if it doesn't come back, it'll just grow. It'll bring back interest into his character uh, after he leaves. So I think if he leaves, who's really gonna care if he leaves? People are just gonna go back to worrying about other superstars and shit. Uh, are they gonna want Ambrose to return? Yeah, but that's why you let him leave. Kind of let this little taste of bad run, this taste of the bad run that he's had, kind of let it, let the bad taste go out of your mouth. No homo. Pause on that. And then once he comes back, you'll be like, oh shit, it's Dean Ambrose, the lovable fucking lunatic that I loved in 2016. That will be brought back to you, and you'll think of him as a good talent again. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Dean Ambrose, the whole situation there. Whether it's work or not, I don't really have anything to say about that. It could be, it could not be. I don't really. If they are making it a work, this isn't like Roman Reigns leukemia, what they keep bringing up. This is just somebody leaving, so I don't really care if they making it a work part of the storylines. Um, so yeah, and then the leukemia stuff, I didn't mean to say it like that, but yeah, they shouldn't be bringing that up in storyline mode, even if the other guy is okay with it. So then we obviously got two matches for WrestleMania on Monday Night Raw as well. We have Seth Rollins versus Brock Lesnar and Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey. Now, which one main events? That is the question on everyone's mind. Could we, for the first time ever, be seeing a women's main event, a women main event? Jesus, I couldn't get it out. Women main event WrestleMania for the first time in history. Now, it is possible. Would you enjoy that match? Yes. Are they big ass stars like Stone Cold, Steve Austin, and The Rock? Right now, I would say maybe. Could they build them up even stronger? Yes. And make it a bigger deal? Yes. Seth Rollins, is he on the level of a Stone Cold, Steve Austin, John Cena, Rock? I don't think so. If he wins the championship now, that's a whole different story. He could be. Right now, he's on the level of an Edge, Rey Mysterio. Who else was a top guy but didn't really main event? I can't think of anybody else. Oh, Roddy. Oh no, Roddy Piper main evented, but he never main evented for the championship. So I'll throw Roddy Piper's name in that lower card. Not top guy, but you know, top guy, but not superstar. That's what Seth Rollins is going up against Brock Lesnar, the biggest star in the company. That's actually wrestling in with the championship right now. So does that main event because it's Brock Lesnar? Uh, Either way, I don't really mind because I don't really care if a women main event. If the storyline is there, sure, give me that. I don't really care for this whole movement, the women's revolution. If it's good, I feel like the triple threat from WrestleMania 32 should have main evented over Roman Reigns and Triple H. Now the storyline wasn't there, but the match was a lot better looking back on it. So I wouldn't have minded that match main eventing WrestleMania 32, the women's championship that is. Uh, Now we have two things that can main event, possibly three if you throw Danny and Bryan in there, but I doubt that main events. So let's just all sit back and agree with this. We don't have to watch another Roman Reigns main event and hate it. This time, for the first time, we're going to be intrigued into the outcomes of these matches that could possibly main event. Um, Whether or not Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins win, that's a whole different story. We'll get to it at another time. But the fact that those two matches are in the spots of main eventing is a whole lot better than any of the shit that we've been given in the last 3 to 4 years with the whole Roman Reigns process. And look how that turned out for them. They don't have him for this year. So that just shows you that they shouldn't be putting all their chips in one basket. If that's how the saying goes, I'm not really sure. Who cares? But yeah, just be happy that we're not getting another Roman Reigns main event that we don't care about. This time we're actually going to get one of the two matches that we care about in the main event. So I'm really looking forward to that. Those are my thoughts on the two main events for Mania. And I hope they don't put Charlotte in, because if Charlotte goes into the Becky Ronda stuff, then I definitely do not want to see that main event WrestleMania, because I don't want Charlotte to main event because she doesn't belong in it. If she belonged in the match, then I would want to see. Then I wouldn't care if it would main event. But she doesn't belong in it, so I don't want her in a triple threat match for the women's championship, Ronda, Becky, Charlotte to main event. I prefer Lesnar, Rollins. But that's besides the point, because as of now it is Becky versus Ronda. Something. Let's go over to SmackDown. R-Truth. There wasn't really much happening, but there was two things that kind of caught my attention. Um, or three things. We had R-Truth winning the championship in a weird fashion. Now, Mike Chioda. Okay, I get that I get that it was meant to happen. Okay, but they do replays for stupider stuff. They use replay for other stuff, and why not do it for this one? Why not have a referee come out and say, "Hey, look, I don't believe Shinsuke Nakamura's shoulders were down for that 3 count. Mike Chioda fucked up." Now this is all like storyline bonus stuff. I don't really care. I know what was supposed to happen. I'm just saying, like, in terms of what actually happened, Shinsuke Nakamura's shoulders were up. R-Truth should not have won that title. But anyway, that's how R-Truth should be winning championships, on a fluke victory, and they still kept going after that, which was even funnier. R-Truth went for like a kick, and then yeah. But we'll see what that turns into, because then Rusev came out, challenged for the title. He lost as well, and then they attacked. Both Rusev and Nakamura attacked R-Truth. So Rusev is a heel now, I believe. They're gonna face off against the club next week. Why not build it and make it a match at Elimination Chamber, just to have another match there with Rusev and Nakamura? But that is an interesting team that I could see happening. But who's gonna get the championships first? Nakamura and Rusev, or the Revival, or Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder? Who wins championships first? Tag team championships first. My money is on Rusev and Nakamura. Excuse me. And then we had the Fatal 4-Way elimination match. Winner would face Shane and Miz at Elimination Chamber. The whole segment with Miz's father was decent. At least it built up the story that they were telling. So at least they did that. Whether or not the segment was entertaining, that's a whole different story as well. And I'm not recapping SmackDown. I'm just giving you my thoughts on some of the stuff that happened. So the Usos win this Fatal 4-Way match. Why the hell are we getting the Usos in another championship match again? Why not just throw the Heavy Machinery a bone? Interesting, matchup between them and Shane and Miz. Instead, it's the Usos again. I could really care less if they win or if they lose, because if they win, then they're going to face either the New Day or the Bar again. If they lose, then it's the Miz and Shane going over a top team, instead of just giving Heavy Machinery that spot. If the Usos are going to lose, just have Heavy Machinery lose in a fun match. But whatever. As soon as I saw the Fatal 4-Way, the matchups, when I saw it was the Usos, the New Day, and the Bar, and then the Heavy Machinery was added with them, I was like, oh, this is going to be exactly what happened to Sanity. They're going to be in the mix for the first couple weeks of their debut, but they're going to lose. Why do they put them in this situation for them to for them to lose? Have them go up against some of these more developed teams, have them get victories over them, and then in a month or two, then you give them a title match opportunity, and then you have them go after the titles. Whether they win or lose, again, that's a different story. But I don't understand why they keep giving these teams title shots, title shot matches. No, yeah, title shot matches, right? Or is it title match shots? No, title shot matches. Uh, I don't understand why they keep giving new teams title shot matches. It's just to have them lose, and then they go into obscurity, like we've seen with the Revival, AOP, and now Heavy Machinery, and probably other teams that I failed to remember. Just to have them lose either the opportunity to get a shot or the title match itself, and then they go into who cares about them land. And then some of the stuff. Oh, the Daniel Bryan, the belt. I hope nobody thinks that that belt is going to anybody else once they win it, because that would be ridiculous. Now, having the spinner belt go to somebody else, that was a little weird too. But then once they stuck the WWE Championship in place, it kind of made more sense why people were just kind of keeping it. That's about the only. And then obviously the Stone Cold Steve Austin rep or hold on, the Stone Cold Steve Austin Championship, his custom design, that was only for him, and they gave it to Austin and or they gave it to McMahon and Undertaker, but they were just kind of making fun of Austin for having his own championship. They didn't really give it to anybody else to carry it as the actual championship. So yeah, I mean, Daniel Bryan unveils this new belt. It was pretty funny. Hemp. I was always thinking about this. I was like, if Daniel Bryan was, because he's been talking about this different belt since TLC, and I was like, if they do give Daniel Bryan a different design with the belt, could they do? How are they gonna replace the leather? Like what material? And then I was like, could they do it with hemp? But how would that look? And we got our answer here. We got a hemp in place of the leather strap, and everything else that was like jewelry or gold or whatever stuff like that was replaced with wood or little, what were they called, like little stones or little, I don't know what the hell they were called, or what they were, little like blue, I don't know what the fuck they are, but you could tell that they are like from the earth or whatever. And when he said the wood was, he didn't just say it was from any type of wood, it was said from a naturally fallen piece of oak or something like that. But that was a good little detail that he added to it, because nobody cut it down. It fell by itself. So like like it makes sense for his character. So it was pretty funny. Uh, and now if they do give this championship to anybody else, it better be as a joke, or they liked it, kind of like, oh, I also have another podcast for you guys here. I've been giving you guys Tyler Coon Williams and BC Amplified. I have another one that if you guys don't know about them, they're a little bit bigger, but what's wrong with wrestling? We're joking around. They're like, Jeff Hardy was out there for that championship little like gathering at the end of the show. He was out there pretty quick because he was like, "Who said hemp? I'm out there real quick." He wanted to smoke the product. So maybe Jeff Hardy gets it, he smokes it, and then he brings back the old belt because he was like, "I don't know what happened to the other belt." They're like, "Jeff, what did you do to it? Did you smoke it?" He's like, "No, it burned down by itself. I mean, I think Seth Rollins was with it. He burned it down. Don't blame me." But it was pretty funny. They didn't say it exactly like that, but yeah, go check them out. They're a pretty funny podcast. They shit on the product all the time. Um, and if you do go over there, leave a comment saying I sent you over there, even though they have no idea who I am. But yeah, so that stuff was funny. We got the Elimination Chamber match for that title. I don't know what they could have done, what else they could have done. Maybe just a one-on-one or a six-man chamber to determine who would face Bryan at Mania. But they also have one more pay-per-view after Elimination Chamber, which I'm kind of fine with them doing a championship chamber match here on the show. We already have one with the women who for some reason on Raw you have qualifying matches, but on SmackDown you just declare for the chamber match. Makes no sense. I'm pretty sure they have enough women to create random ass teams to have qualifying matches on SmackDown as well. Uh, and then next week on Raw we're getting another qualifying match, and probably on SmackDown we're just gonna have Peyton Royce and Billy Kay declare. And if we have anybody on SmackDown qualify in a match, we're gonna be like, wait, but why does Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville just get in? So yeah, really stupid continuity. Is that what you call it? Continuity on these shows. You can still see how booking is still shit. How storylines, how writers don't really make sense with each other. They can't get on the same page. Just something as simple as having qualifying matches. Like back in the day, you wouldn't be thinking about all this stuff because they would just have qualifying matches for every spot and on both shows. That's something that irked me as well. But anyway, yeah, the chamber match was set for the WWE Championship. Daniel Bryan, Jeff Hardy, Samoa Joe, Randy Orton, Mustafa Ali, and AJ Styles. Do you guys see Daniel Bryan losing the championship here? Not only this close to WrestleMania, but also as soon as they gave him this championship, this new design with it. Like, does he lose it in 3 weeks? That would be ridiculous. But we will see. That does it for all I had to talk about this week in the world of wrestling and a little bit about sports. So, thank you if you stuck with me throughout this whole video. And if you have, why not leave some comments, leave some questions down below. And next week, maybe on the next podcast, let's call it a podcast, with a V. My voice just cracked. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, leave some comments, leave some questions, and maybe next week or in the next podcast, whatever you want to call it, I'll answer them for you, talk about it, and give you some of my thoughts on what you guys have, or give me some opinions, something. Leave something in the comments, and I'll talk about it next podcast or whatever. And do you want me to make this a podcast? Just call it that. If not, I'm just gonna keep calling it a podcast, even though it's not podcast because it's a video form. So hopefully I'll be back next week if I'm not busy. That does it for me. I'm out.